John Penrose.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker, and I rise to speak to my new clause number 2, which, given its low clause number, everyone will realise was tabled pretty early in the process of this bill, and it's about the smart data clauses which sit as a block in the middle of the bill. And before I go on, I'd just like to say it is absolutely wonderful to see the degree of cross-party support there is for the smart data moves that are being put forward here, and particularly the remarks from the Labour front bench showing that they have drunk deeply from the Kool-Aid in the same way as the rest of us, and it is vital that this goes forward as fast as possible, but as safely as possible, because it has huge potential for our economy, for our rate of GDP growth, and it seeks, as the Minister rightly said earlier on, to build on the undoubted world-leading success of our existing position in open banking. My amendment, Mr. Deputy Speaker, is fairly straightforward. It just tries to make sure that there are 2 additional points which the government, I hope, will elaborate on or elucidate on in the Minister's closing remarks. And it comes about as a result of a letter which I and a number of other people wrote to the Secretary of State back in July, urging these two further measures which are encapsulated in my new clause 2. But just to underline the extent of and the breadth of support for the points in new clause 2, this letter was not just signed by me, it was also signed by the Chief Data and Analytics Officer of the NatWest Group. It's signed by leading figures in the Financial Data and Technology Association, co-founder and CEO of Ozone API, Director General of the Payments Association, the founder and chief executive of Icebreaker One, who is also, incidentally, Mr. Deputy Speaker, now the chair of the Smart Data Council, the founder of Open Banking Excellence, and the CEO of the Investment and Savings Alliance as well. So this is not just a cross-party point I'm trying to make here, Mr. Deputy Speaker, it's also something which has widespread support from the very organisations that are involved in smart data, and particularly in the open banking success which we are all seeking to replicate. And the new clause just tries to do 2 things. Firstly, it says, look, if we are to take our success in open banking and replicate that across other parts of our economy, then we need just 2 things to be true. One is to make sure that any data standards that are applied in other sectors are all interoperable with the ones that already exist in open banking. And the point about it is that the data standards will be different for each sector, because each sector's data is held in different ways, in different places, by different people, starting with different legal foundational powers, but they must all converge on a set of standards, which means that health data can talk to energy data, can talk to banking data in a safe and secure way. And so it is essential, and this follows on from the point I was making inquiries about in my intervention on the Minister in his opening remarks for New Clause 27, Government New Clause 27. I think if you're going to have data standards which allow different bits of data to be exchanged in a safe and secure way, it is absolutely essential that we don't end up with siloed different standards that don't interoperate, which can't talk to each other between the different sectors. Otherwise, we will completely fail to leverage our existing lead in open banking, and we will effectively have to reinvent the wheel from scratch every time we open up a new sector. So I'm hoping that by the time the Minister gets to his feet to respond to the various points that have been made during this debate, that inspiration will have struck, and he will be able to confirm that it is not the government's intention to have different, it may be the government's intention to have different data standards, but it is the government's intention that those standards shall all be interoperable so that we avoid this problem of balkanisation, if I can put it that way. And I hope you will be able to provide us all with strong reassurance in that direction. The second point encapsulated in New Clause 2 is the one that says, if I am let's say an app developer or an app company that is currently very successful in open banking, I have a piece of middleware in the open banking ecosystem, and I'm being extremely successful within my existing sector, but I rather fancy the notion of being able to take what I've already done successfully and is world leading in open banking and roll it out to other sectors of the economy. So I might want to produce a health app or an energy app or whatever it might be in order to profit from the or to provide services to, from the government's plans to roll out smart data across the rest of the economy, I need to know which sectors are going to be done in what order. Otherwise, I don't know. As I walk into the office on Monday morning, I need to go up to my development team. I do not know whether or not I'm telling them to do the energy development first, or the water development first, or the open smart data development for online retail. All I need, therefore, is a Gantt chart or a timetable, call it what you will, but something that tells me which sectors, in what order, by what dates, so I can make sure that my app is ready on those launch dates to be able to profit from this. And it is absolutely essential, therefore, that what I was delighted to see in the government's autumn statement, just 10 days ago, in, I think it's paragraph 428 of the autumn statement, talks, and we've heard about this from the Labour front bench, about a smart data big bang covering 7 sectors. Wonderful, absolutely super, but which 7 sectors and when? And if the Minister is able to clarify that, or at the very least say when the government is going to publish the timetable, naming the sectors and naming the dates on which each sector will be ready, then I think he will be doing international investors in our country and our existing very successful, world-leading organisations that are already winning. Yes, absolutely.
I agree with him, but there are quite a lot of steps that need to be taken. For instance, we might need to mandate standards on smart meters to be able to take advantage of these measures, and we haven't had any kind of plan so far. Unless he's seen something.
I wish I had seen something, Mr. Deputy Speaker, because then I would be able to lead or, to sort of pull my amendment or inform the House. I have not seen that, and I think it is absolutely essential, not just for people in this chamber this afternoon to see it, but for all those investors, for all those business leaders, and for all those app developers to be able to see that as well, so that they can work out the critical path and whatever the minimum viable products might be and everything else that's going to be necessary by what date for the sectors that they're aiming for. So he's absolutely right, and it is really vital that therefore the Minister is able, if he can't come up with the timetable this afternoon, he can at least come up with a timetable for the timetable so that we all know when the thing will be available, and so that the rest of the open banking industry can work out how it's going to become an open everything industry and in what order by what time. So, Mr. Deputy Speaker, it's fairly straightforward. I think that there are promising signs, both in the autumn statement and in the government's new clause 27, but they do require some further details to be tied down before they are going to be genuinely as useful. I'm assuming, I'm hoping, I'm praying that the Minister will be able to provide some of those reassurances and detail when he gets up to make his closing remarks, and therefore I will be able to count this as a probing amendment and not push it any further, but I'm devoutly hoping that the Minister will be able to make that an easier moment for me when he gets to his feet.
Now, with respect to the amendment moved by my honourable friend, the member for Weston-super-Mare, we absolutely, as I indicated, share his enthusiasm for smart data and ensuring that the powers within the bill are implemented in a timely manner with interoperability at their core. While I agree that we can only fully realise the benefits of smart data schemes if they enable interoperability, different sectors will have different levels of existing digital infrastructure and capability. Thus, we could inadvertently hinder the success of future schemes if we mandate the use of one universal set of standards based on those, for instance, used in open banking. But the government will ensure that interoperability is central to the development of smart data schemes. And to support our thinking, we're working with industry and regulators in the Smart Data Council to identify the technical infrastructure that needs to be replicated. And with regard to the timeline, or indeed even the timeline for a timeline, which he asked for, I absolutely recognise that it is important to build investor, industry and consumer confidence by outlining the government's planned timeline, and he's right to highlight the comments of the Chancellor in the autumn statement, where we set out plans to kickstart the smart data big bang and our ambition for using these powers across 7 sectors. But at this stage, I'm afraid I'm not able to accept his amendment, but it is our intention to set out these in more detail in the coming months. And I know that my honourable friend, the member for Thurston Moulton, and I would be happy to work with him along to do so. With regard to the honourable lady opposite,